Bobby Shmurda was born Aquil Jean Pollard in Miami, Florida, 1994. Why, by golly, that means he's younger than me. And in his short time on this earth, he's managed to become a top 10 recording artist, sign a 7-figure record deal, rise to the top of the G9 CRIPS, and land himself in jail with a 7-year sentence. And all of that by the young age of 25. If that doesn't make you an overachiever, I don't know what does. As a child, he moved from Miami to East Flatbush in New York with his mother after his father caught an attempted murder charge and got life in prison. So a young Bobby would spend his formative years flying back and forth between the Big Apple and the Sunshine State. I guess frequently transitioning between hot boy and much colder boy in the winter months. But unfortunately, as a youth, Bobby seemed to get sucked into the street lifestyle that would lead him to various forms of trouble. According to Bobby, the lyrics of his songs ring true. According to him, he really was selling crack in the 5th grade, though I'm told this young overachiever was quickly selling it at a 9th grade level. But apparently his express queue-jumping pass to the streets came to him in the form of his older brother. So for many years growing up, Bobby truly lived the thug life. But fortunately for him, he would eventually land enough musical success to at least get a shot of escaping that life once and for all. Okay, now first off, I can appreciate the fact that it's a little bit annoying that I can't even say the name of Bobby Shmurda's most popular single. The radio-friendly version of that song was called Hot Boy, but somehow that's almost as lame as saying hot N-word. So for the duration of this video, I'll be referring to Bobby Shmurda's most popular song as Hot Nigel, as a sign of disrespect to the leader of the UK's Brexit Party and regular flyer of the dodo in GTA 3, Nigel Farage. Interestingly, the Hot Nigel also refers to a sex act, where you say you're going to pull out but end up leaving it in for another 3 years. Anyway, Hot Nigel wasn't actually Bobby's first crack at the mic. His first attempt at rapping was the remix of Crime Mob's Knuck If You Buck, that unfortunately didn't get much attention at the time of recording, probably due to the fact that Bobby was 10 years old. But I heard that Africa Bambaataa did offer him a contract at the time. Actually, it might have been an NDA. In fact, it would be another 10 years later, at age 20, when Bobby Shmurda would have a breakout hit with Hot Nigel. Interestingly, the track was already an old Jalil Beats production that had been used officially by the rapper Lloyd Banks 2 years before this in a track called Jackpot. Now to me, this is actually a really important tidbit of information, because Hot Nigel was such a banger when it dropped. I mean, that Jalil beat dropped so hard in the club that it makes me just want to fire off an AK into the air like I'm at an Arabic wedding. But the thing is, since that beat had already been out there and associated with a pretty well-known major artist, but not picked up nearly enough steam as it did when Bobby did it, to me is proof that it was Bobby's personality and style that truly made this a hot track, not just a hot beat. Because let's be real, right? We've all heard that story before where a hot rapper comes out the gate, but everybody starts putting them down, saying shit like, oh, they're only popping because of their hot beats. That beat would still be a hit if it just had somebody farting all over it. I mean, that was pretty much the case with Lil Fart's second single, Fart Life. So the benefit of the Hot Nigel beat having already been around in the industry for a few years gave Bobby a lot of credibility coming out of the gate as a true artist with longevity. But that doesn't necessarily mean that Bobby didn't pick the beat wisely. He said that that beat really spoke to him and he recorded the song just after coming home from a 15-month sentence after getting caught with a gun, and that he laid down Hot Nigel on the spot after hearing the beat. I mean, that charge itself is an interesting one. Apparently Bobby was already on probation when he got caught with a gun, but the charges were dropped after it was realized that it wasn't in a state to shoot. But the fact he got picked up meant he'd already violated his probation and he was sent to juvie for 15 months. And coincidentally, that charge actually came the same day that Bobby's close friend Shiesty was killed. An incident that led to a dramatic chain of events that ultimately brought down the GS9, but we're going to get into that later. So once he got out of jail, he tried to turn his life around and keep out of trouble with music. And well, Bobby must have had a guardian angel sitting on his shoulder, because he shot a music video for Hot Nigel and it ended up getting 2,000 views organically on the first day. Which doesn't sound like a lot, but that is genuinely lit for your first attempt at the rap game. Shit, when I was trying to make it as a rapper back in 2015, I was racking up a solid 78 views on my first day out the gate. Shout out to my first subscriber ever, whoever the fuck that was. Anyway, Bobby's 2,000 views turned into millions real quick. Within only 20 days, it had already cracked 1 million views. And to this day, that video has over 500 million views on YouTube. It sold over 1 million copies going platinum. It peaked at number 6 on Billboard and even charted in countries like the UK, France, Canada, and Belgium. And of course, it will still lead to serious bodily harm if thrown on at full volume at a rave to this day. And the video had everything, you know, an infectious hook, plenty of goons, and most importantly in the music industry nowadays, a viral dance move, the shmoney dance. Though I personally prefer the dance move where he shmurders that pussy, but whatever, that's just me. And of course, let us never forget that the Hot Nigel music video features Bobby Shmurda's famous disappearing hat. Many theories had been offered as to the fate of Bobby's head sock. However, Bobby eventually put an end to fan suspense and said that his hat went the same way as his career.
Now when you threw your hat in the air, where exactly did the hat go? Because it never came down. Was that editing or what?
Nah,
I went straight to the top.
Straight to the top.
Yes, once Hot Nigel caught on, there was absolutely no way of stopping Bobby from bopping his way all the way to the top. And before you knew it, big name rappers, trappers and cappers were looking to ride on Bobby's clout train too. One of the earliest supporters was academics hater and wheelie popper Meek Mill, who slid into Bobby's DMs early and ended up bringing him out on stage at King of Diamonds strip club in Miami to perform next to some naked thotties. I'd give her a Hot Nigel. Even Beyonce, Jay-Z and Rihanna started referencing and doing the Shmoney dance on stage. Drake did the Shmoney dance at the ESPY Awards and even ended up bringing out Bobby on his Drake vs Lil Wayne tour. Hell, the Shmoney dance even made its way to Where Comedy Goes to Die, with Bobby going on to perform Hot Nigel on both Jimmy Fallon and Kimmel respectively. Hell, he even had Fallon dancing backstage in a scene that was so funny I forgot to slap my desk 100 times. But on top of comedy sellouts, so many rappers were doing the Shmoney dance I pretty much lost count. Lil Wayne, Jeezy, Juicy J, French Montana, Lil Kim, Gunplay and T.I. all did unofficial remixes, with Fabulous, Chris Brown, Jadakiss, Busta Rhymes, Yo Gotti and Rowdy Rebel all appearing on an official remix. And hell, if that wasn't enough to completely play this song to death, Bobby got on his Old Town Road shit and had yet another remix made featuring Junior Reid, Jar X, Mavado and Pop Khan on a reggae tip. The Shmoney dance itself became popular on Vine, which is the old short-form video platform that pedos used to use to groom children before TikTok was invented. Frankly, Bobby Shmurda was popping like nobody had for a long-ass time. And so in July, he dropped the Shmoney Shmurda Schmixtape to capitalize on the buzz. But then again, he couldn't please everyone, with one DatPiff commenter describing it as schmediocre. So with all of the pressure of a big debut hit on his shoulders, all eyes were on Bobby's next moves. But I doubt anyone could have truly expected what was about to come next. Now, we've all heard about sucking some dick for truck fit, but who's ever done the Bobby Shmurda for a nice little earner? Well, Bobby must have spent a little too much time in King of Diamonds with Meek Mill, because it wouldn't take long for him to be shaking his ass for some money too. He famously went viral after a video of him dancing on the table at a meeting in Epic Records surfaced. Funnily enough, a tired old move that Machine Gun Kelly is still trotting out to this day. Though it's somehow way more pathetic when Kelly does it, because he can't quite stick the landing like Bobby. That's what you call a cold Nigel. Now, that deal at Epic apparently came via former 50 Cent producer turned record executive Sha Money XL. This led to a lucrative $1.5 million deal that would position Bobby as the CEO of his own GS9 Records imprint. Epic pressed on, releasing his EP Shmurda She Wrote on November the 10th, 2014, which slipped into the Billboard charts at number 79 and remained there for 2 weeks. It featured his follow-up single Bobby Bitch, continuing the genius trend of having at least one offensive word in every title of your song, with that track landing in at 92 on the Billboard 100. And that body flipping anthem came along with a music video that featured Bobby Shmurda surrounded by an attractive array of video thotties like some sort of GS9 remake of Blurred Lines. And for the month or so that followed, Bobby Shmurda remained on top. And why not? Bobby Shmurda was a confident, young, newly minted hip-hop millionaire, surrounded by a gang of shooters with all of the confidence of Tim Westwood at a fresher's rave. He started sharing in public his big, ambitious plans for his future career, saying crazy stuff like he wants to go on and do a Big Brother, Little Brother film with Kevin Hart, which I know at the outset sounds like complete bullshit that a delusional rapper would say, but he did actually go on to appear getting Kevin Hart hella high and doing the Shmoney dance on his amazing TV show The Real Housewives of Hollywood.
Oh, man, this girl.
I mean, it was pretty funny, but I personally would have liked to have seen that Big Brother idea happen. Another iconic moment for Bobby's career that actually came just before he signed his deal was an iconic interview on The Breakfast Club. I swear the FBI won't even arrest you these days unless you've been on The Breakfast Club in the past week. Swear Charlemagne's wearing a wire. And let's keep it real, Bobby was clearly on edge about self-snitching when he came into this interview. As soon as he sat down, they asked him to spit out his gum, as they often do with guests. And Bobby thought they said gun instead of gum, which led to some hilarious hijinks.
The gum police. You
gotta take out the gum police.
You guys put gum.
Gum.
You gotta take your gum. Oh my gosh, I ain't taking nothing about the gun.
I don't know nothing about no guns. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm just saying, you can't chew gum on the mic.
What are you talking about?
Gun police.
But then again, it did turn out that the gun police did have a warrant out for his arrest after he reportedly murdered his gum in the last interview. Obviously, Bobby would soon calm down, relax, and get into all of that great self-incrimination that we came here to see.
In the jungle, you gotta be a lion.
Oh, gotcha.
You gotta be the top dog, man. I was top dog when I was out there.
Okay, Bobby, anything else?
And can't everybody stop saying that? It's not just caught a body by the week ago. It's Mitch caught a body by the week ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you didn't kill nobody. It was Mitch who did it.
Ain't nobody got killed. Ain't nobody got killed. Poor Mitch.
Jeez, Mitch ain't gonna like that one.
Everything you said in this room can and will be used against you.
And these are my friends.
No, but it really will. Come on, let's go. Now the problems all started on June the 2nd, 2014. Bobby made a nightclub appearance at Club Eden in New Jersey, where shots rang out in the parking lot and 200 fans ran for cover. A day later, Bobby had allegedly been showing off a 9mm pistol at an apartment in Brooklyn. At that point, the police decided to pay Bobby a visit to his apartment, raiding the home and arresting him, suggesting that he had tried to hide that pistol inside of a couch. He was subsequently freed on $10,000 bail, and for a brief period he was even leveling a lawsuit against the NYPD for false arrest. And while it was initially thought that those charges had been dropped, he wouldn't be shmoney dancing for long, because on December 17th, 2014, it was revealed that those charges were actually rolled into a much larger indictment, followed by a dramatic multi-location sting operation that would leave Bobby Shmurda and 14 of his GS9 affiliates in handcuffs on conspiracy charges, many of which were people who he'd mentioned in his songs. There was Bobby Shmurda, aka Chewy, aka Truey, aka Aquil Pollard, Rowdy Rebel, aka Chad Marshall, Santino Broderick, aka Cuneo, Alex Crandon, aka A-Rod, Nicholas McCoy, aka Montana Flea, aka Monty, Deshane Crockett, aka D-Boy, aka Larry Murd, aka Mitch, Remy Marshall, aka Fetty, Cleavon Pearson, aka Dredd, Asia Davis, Michael Legal, Rashid Derrison, aka Russia, aka Jordan 23, Brian Harvey, aka Mishi, Javis Pollard, who's actually Bobby's brother, aka Fame, aka Jar Jar, Devon Rodney, aka Slice, and Delroy Edwards, also known as D-Rose. The sting operation itself went down in pretty dramatic fashion. Apparently the cops raided the crew whilst they were performing at the famous Quad Studios in New York, the same studio where Tupac had his nutsack blown off. Some people even suggested that it was actually Rowdy Rebel who had given the cops the drop on their location after posting clips on social media sharing his location and even naming the people he was with by name.
Yeah. Come play me a pool table, fuck nigga. Yeah.
Whatever you do, like it, thumbs up.
Monte in the back. Yeah. Fetty in the back. Yeah. Quino never fought though.
When he realised what was going on, Rowdy Rebel took off with another GS9er, but unfortunately for Rowdy, once they caught him, they also found in a nearby stairwell a bag containing 3 loaded guns as well as a receipt with his name on it. Bobby himself even tried to do the dash, jumping in a car with an acquaintance, before getting stopped too, and unfortunately being found in the car with 2 guns and some crack. And they were some serious guns. I mean, look at the size of these hand cannons. And it didn't take long for the cops to trot out the 9 and start bragging about all of the trophies that they'd picked up in their raid.
Today we're announcing the arrest and indictment of 15 individuals associated with the G-Stone CRIPS.
Bobby, what do you have to say to your fans? Bobby, anything?
And unfortunately this time, $10,000 bail wasn't going to cut it, and Bobby's bail was set at a whopping $2 million. Ironic, seeing as $2 million is also the price tag of the rare, one-of-a-kind, Once Upon a Time in Shaolin Wu-Tang album that I actually covered last week. And as it turns out, the same pasty clown that bought that album also decided to throw his hat in the ring in the race to free Bobby Shmurda. Of course that went nowhere, but we can all appreciate the irony of Martin Shkreli ending up banged up a few cells down from the 9.
But I heard the guys in the cell next door talking GS9, they're like, you know, talking about stabbings and shootings. I'm sitting there like, yo, I want to be in that cell.
But Shmelly Shkreli aside, when it came to that $2 million bail, all eyes were on Epic Records. And when the label didn't immediately bail out their artist, the knives were truly out. Some people like 50 Cent came out to say that Epic should have bailed out Bobby. Meanwhile, the CEO of Epic, LA Reid, came out to defend Epic's decision, suggesting that they don't make money like they used to. Which to me was kind of a lame thing to do, not just because it was a crappy excuse, because what they really should have done is been honest, come out and spoken about how serious the charges were against Bobby, and told the truth, which is they shouldn't have really been getting tangled up in an organisation like the GS9. So there actually ended up being 69 charges in this enormous indictment. Bobby himself was charged with conspiracy to commit murder, reckless endangerment, drug possession, and gun possession. However, other members of the GS9 crew caught even more serious charges than Bobby, which included murder, attempted murder, assault, weapons possession, criminal use of firearms, criminal use of drug paraphernalia, and drug dealing. Oh come on, I mean that drug dealing charge is a real stretch. What evidence could you possibly have that these guys were out there trying to sell dope?
Yeah, you need some dope. Yo, you got dope for sale? We got dope.
Hey guys, have we got dope for sale? You're holding the dope that we sell, right? No, don't worry about him. No, he's just shooting a vlog, but you've got the dope. We sell dope. But if anything, the dope was actually the least important part of this case. On the crackdown, cops received 21 guns, a haul that they described as a considerable arsenal for armed warfare. I mean, that's literally enough guns to do an actual 21-gun salute. Though to be fair, it looks like they got one of those guns from a Christmas cracker. Now, police actually said that they've been investing GS9 or the G-Stone CRIPS for murder, as well as shooting indiscriminately at crowds in various locations for many many years before Bobby Shmurda had even risen to fame. And this is evidence in numerous occasions where they get pulled up upon by undercover cops in their vlogs. You know, the vlogs where they're selling dope.
You got your boys, I gotta get my boys, it ain't gonna end good. You know what I'm saying? You guys might have a couple hundred, I got 30,000.
The indictment said that the crew had carried out various non-fatal shootings in both New York and Miami, specifically indiscriminately shooting into crowds outside nightclubs, possibly a reference to that shooting that took place one day before Bobby Shmurda's gun charge. And the cops claimed that all of the violence surrounding GS9 stemmed from beefs that they had with other gangs, one which is known as Folk Nation and another known as Brooklyn's Most Wanted, or BMW. Allegedly, the war had started several years earlier when Bobby's close friend and leader of the G-Stone Crips, Shiesty Cocaine, real name Tyrese Timothy Gary, was murdered by a BMW member. Do you remember that lyric, "Like I talked to Shiesty when I shot Nigels"? Well, Bobby actually said in an interview that that was the realest lyric he's ever said, likely an early hint to his true hunger for revenge for whoever killed his friend that raged on until that day.
And what's probably the realest lyric you said?
Like I took the shiesty when I shot niggas.
And beyond Hot Nigel, there are other songs where Bobby Shmurda talks about avenging cocaine and saying that he'd shot plenty of people for him. Now, although Bobby wasn't hit with a murder charge himself, he was implicated in a conspiracy to commit murder as part of the charges, with other members of GS9 being implicated directly in the murder of a rival gang member from the crew BMW. Apparently, Rasha, aka Jordan23, real name Rashid Derasant, burst through the door of a bodega where several BMW members were hanging out. He opened fire, leaving a 19-year-old man dead, and quickly exited. And apparently accompanying him on this attack was fellow member A-Rod, with both of them being hit with murder and attempted murder charges. And it was actually this incident of murder that brought a lot more police attention onto the GS9 crew, prompting them to set up wiretaps on their members where they would catch people, including Bobby, bragging about crimes that they had committed on the streets to other members of the Nine that had been incarcerated. Apparently this killing was the culmination of a number of violent confrontations and retaliations between GS9 and BMW, including an incident on January the 29th, 2013, where a 14-bullet shootout took place outside the Kings County Supreme Court building, a shootout that involved Bobby Shmurda himself. Another shootout went down in Brooklyn where a 22-year-old female bystander was shot in the neck because they were unknowingly standing next to a BMW member that the GS9 crew had pulled up to kill. As well as hitting a bystander in the neck, this also led to some friendly fire where a GS9 member was also shot in the arm. This was an incident that involved even more members from Bobby's lyrics. That's Rasha, A-Rod, and of course Mitch, who Bobby famously said caught a body about a week ago. Week ago! I said, then we tweak it, ho, tweak it, ho. Sorry, that happens sometimes. Though for the record, Mitch has denied that this body was a murder, suggesting that what Bobby really meant was that he'd fucked a bitch that day.
Yo, what's up with your little man? What's up, what happened? Yo, he said your name.
Yeah.
I fucked the bitch that day.
Yeah.
For the body, that's it. You know what I'm saying?
How creative.
That's what it is, though. That's what it was, so.
Yeah, sure. In addition, there was also another attempt to shoot at Folk Nation members only hours before Rowdy Rebel and other GS9 members were set to perform at the Barclays Center without Bobby. God damn, I swear you can't even get into the Barclays Center without some gunpowder on your hands. And lastly, there's one more tidbit of interesting violence in that indictment, which was a shooting at a barbershop that apparently Bobby Shmurda had carried out himself, where he was alleged to have shot through the window of a barbershop at a crowd of people following an argument with his own brother. So considering the fact that apparently Bobby is out here making fat stacks off the back of talking about all these crimes on his songs, and seemingly self-snitching to the highest degree, a lot of people thought his lyrics would be used against him. The cops made their intention of using the Hot Nigel lyrics against him in their original press conference, with James Essig, the head of the NYPD unit that made the arrest, saying Shmurda's songs and videos were a real-life document of what GS9 were doing in the streets. Combine that with the fact that Shmurda had been caught slipping in several interviews saying that his lyrics are indeed a reflection of his real life. But luckily for Bobby, the Supreme Court in New Jersey had actually ruled that lyrics cannot be read at trial as evidence unless they have a strong nexus to the specific crimes involved. But even without the lyrics, prosecutors had a mountain of evidence that would surely leave members of the Nine doing big fat sentences. And even though he'd initially pled not guilty, Bobby would eventually strike a deal with prosecutors, accept a guilty plea, and end up in the slammer for a long stretch. On September the 2nd, 2016, Bobby Shmurda pled guilty and took a deal. This copped to 2 counts, one of third-degree conspiracy and one of weapons possession. This apparently was up 2 years from a potential 5-year sentence, but Bobby agreed to take 7 years if Rowdy Rebel would also get 7 years, down from the 12 that he was initially facing. This allowed Bobby to take credit for the 2 years that he'd already spent in jail awaiting trial, with his lawyer estimating that with good behavior he could be out in 3.5 years. This was part of a global plea deal that included Shmurda, Rowdy Rebel, and McCoy, and frankly was a pretty big W considering that he was initially facing 8 to 25 years had he gone to trial. Story goes that he's actually set for a parole hearing on August of 2020 with a potential conditional release date of December 2020 coming too, which is honestly a much better outcome than some of his Codies that decided to plead not guilty. Santino Broderick got over 117 years in jail after turning down a 15-year plea deal, apparently even yelling in the courtroom telling the judge to suck his dick upon sentencing. I tell you what, your dick is not going to be looking very suckable at 117 years old, pal. Russia was sentenced to 98 1/3 years. Somehow the fact that he's 1 2/3 off of a 100-year sentence only adds insult to injury. And Alex A. Rod Crandon, who received a sentence of 53 years 1/3. And so in many ways, even though it sucks to catch a 7-year sentence, compared to some of the football numbers his Codies were getting, Bobby took a pretty big W. And from then on, he settled into his stay in jail with gusto. In May 2015, before his trial was resolved, he got into a 2-on-2 prison brawl, Bloods versus Crips, which was apparently ended by the guards who gassed them. Then between late June and early July in 2015, before his trial, Bobby and his ex were caught trying to smuggle a blade into Rikers Island, and both caught charges. Bobby even ended up getting a 4-year sentence running concurrently to his 7-year sentence for getting caught with a shank. Then in November 2016, he got into another brawl involving several inmates, losing him his phone privileges for a period and ending him up in the hole for a month. Oh, now who are GS9 members going to call up to blab about all their crimes? Well, in the end, Bobby was too much of a hot boy in jail to continue, and in 2017 he was moved to the Clinton Correctional Facility to finish his sentence in protective custody because he'd become such a target. And hell, at least he gets to stay in the same jail that housed Tupac, ODB and your boy Sean. And since then, he's been in fairly good spirits, even with a picture of him smiling with his family on a visit surfacing online. And hell, it turns out the restrictions of 4 walls isn't even enough to keep Bobby Shmurda off the charts. Because while he was in jail, he famously appeared on 6ix9ine's track Stupid, landing himself a Billboard hit that 6ix9ine Dooley phoned Bobby in jail to inform him of.
You number 25 on a Billboard, nigga.
Nah, you mean me, nigga. We, nigga.
We, you know
I
that
like that
shit.
talk. You know
I
that.
like that talk. Talk to me nice, yeah?
We be home 2 years, early 2020.
Yeah, you know.
Get ready for the mixtape.
Because I guess I can't even end a video these days without talking about Big Daddy 6ix9ine. And so that's the story of Bobby Shmurda's wild ride straight to the top. A rise that happened a little too fast for him to even think about some of the more incriminating things he was saying on the mic. Unfortunately, landing him in the slammer alongside his boys. And look, I know a lot of people love saying shit like free Bobby Shmurda or free the 9. And I know there's been plenty of fart-sniffing articles in publications like The Guardian calling injustice on Bobby being stuck in the slammer. But at the end of the day, GS9 done a murder. And any which way you look at it, murder isn't cool. So let this be a message to any of you aspiring rappers or just anybody in society at large. If you've got a bunch of friends around you that are doing murders, maybe get yourself some new friends. Ones that don't do murders. Thanks for watching.
What's good, gang? It's your boy Trap Lord Ross coming at you live from the toilet for reasons that are not important. I just want to drop a quick message to everybody saying I hope everybody is safe out there. It's scary times at the moment, and I just hope that you all look after yourselves. Take care of yourselves, take care of your families, and take it easy. I'm wishing everybody the best. I appreciate you. I just want to give a little extra announcement. I'm going to close my merch store at the end of the month. It's probably the least important thing that's going on right now, but you got to keep it going, man. Life goes on, the world's still moving. You've got to do your thing. So I'm going to switch up the merch store at the end of the month. If anybody out there still wants to cop something, get your orders in at traplord.com before the end of the month. I'm going to come up with a whole bunch of new designs after that. I'm going to be super excited for it. And of course, as always, I want to give a humongous shout out to my Patreon gang. That's Inuk, Claire Audien, Otaku VS, Noah Carter, Jaden Cho, Candy Cantrell, Jason Thor, Pyromancer, Griffin Fuller, Sean Anderson, Antonio Groza, Javier Gonzalez, James C, Vivi, DJ Fred 100, Bash the Prince, Fabian Cruz, Johannes Zimmerman, Henry Bryan, Josh Nappin, Niraj Shukla, Galib, Jessica Simmons, Chris J, Dylan Stuber, Tony Doe, Penis Bag McPenisface, Wilson Psychedelic, and Asaya. Thank you so much for your support, as well as everybody else whose names you can see on the screen now. It means the world to me. Hope everybody is good. Hope everybody is looking after themselves. And until next time, peace out.